What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Desai Guys Football Forum. I'm one of your co-hosts, Armin Desai, joined as always by my good friend, my good buddy, the other half of Desai Guys, Mr. Tad Desai. And Tad, we're officially at that point where we're hitting the fantasy playoffs, so this is actually our final waiver wire episode, Tad. I mean, it's like, if you made the playoffs, I think you have a pretty solid roster. There's no more bye weeks, so you don't have to worry about replacing guys. Maybe some injuries here and there, but we are going to get through some Week 15 waiver wire additions. But
real quick, we have to note that over the last 2 days, 75 NFL players have been placed on the COVID reserve list. So, because I'm one of them, I was like, okay, I had OBJ on my bench this past week. I'm like, all right, I am not benching him anymore. Just came out today of recording that he has COVID. So now I may need to be looking at the waiver wire for, a receiver, even though I'm in the playoffs in both of my leagues.
No, for sure. Even though you're in the playoffs, you definitely still need to play the waiver wire. But at this point, I think if you're in the playoffs, you have an understanding as far as where you need to go. So that's why we're closing it off with our final waiver wire episode here today.
Also, this entire episode is a conflict of interest because Amur is the number 1 seed in our league. I'm the number 2 seed. By the way, Team Fart, I hate you. You're the only guy to beat me twice this season. Is the worst.
Wow, he beat you twice.
Is the worst. All because I have Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott, and this is the worst time for both of them to hit a slump. But anyway, this entire episode is a giant conflict of interest because we both have the buys, but man, I think it's going to be you and me in the championship game.
It could be trending that way, but you never know what can happen. It's really just like the NFL playoffs too.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
So we'll see. But yeah, Tad, we also have some fun. We're going to look back at all of our previous pick that we've made on these waiver wire episodes. And we're going through some of our good picks. We're going to go through some of our bad picks and, go through some of the percentages and things like that. So we're going to close out this episode that way with a little bit of a look back at all of our previous picks. But yeah, definitely we want to jump into our Week 15 waiver wire picks. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this. We're just going to go through it pretty quickly, hit them with a little bit of a bullet point, not too much there. So Tad, who do you like at quarterback this week?
It's the hot pick, but I'm going to ride with it. Taysom Hill. I said he should have been the starter all season. He is proving me right. His dynamic type of play especially lends itself well to fantasy. So, yes, I know the Saints are going up against the Buccaneers, but Taysom Hill has put up 20-plus points in his last 2 starts, and the Buccaneers' defense is still kind of iffy, and even if they do struggle, which I anticipate will be the case, he can get you a rushing touchdown or 2 to kind of salvage that stat line for you. So I like Taysom Hill at quarterback.
Yeah, he had a sensational game against the Jets. He also had a good, even though it wasn't like a real-life good game
that's redundant.
The previous week, he still had a good fantasy week 2 weeks ago, too.
Sensational game, and then against the Jets, that's redundant.
But yeah, he's a good addition. Also, the Saints have not lost a regular season game to Tom Brady's Buccaneers, so they could go 4-0. We'll see about that there. I'm going with the rookie Justin Fields against the Minnesota Vikings. I know he had an okay game against the Green Bay Packers. Packers just totally put it on them on offense, so that's what led.
Thank God no one told you to bet on the Bears. That would be tragic.
But I expect him to do a lot better against the Minnesota Vikings. I know they totally were dominating that game against the Steelers on Thursday night, but that was only in the first half. They had a total second half collapse. The Steelers were able to climb back into that game, so I think this Bears offense can do something very similar to that because like we talked about with Minnesota all the time, they're inconsistent both in the game, they're inconsistent week to week, they're inconsistent season to season. It's just like, it's so weird with them. So yeah, I expect, in this divisional game, Bears and Vikings, Justin Fields to play a lot better. So I like Justin Fields here in Week 15. Tad, let's jump into the running backs. Who do you like?
I like Rashad Penny. Like I said, I'm just going to keep going with these really popular names. But yeah, look, Rashad Penny is coming off what some could argue is the best game of his career, probably.
I could say that.
Yeah, I think so. So I think that Pete Carroll with Chris Carson, obviously out for the season, Alex Collins being fine. I know Adrian Peterson is coming back. But so Adrian Peterson could be a weird little wrench thrown in here, but I won't worry about it too much. I think that Rashad Penny after last week will get a solid shot to be like, all right, dude, show us what you got. Are you our guy? And so I like Rashad Penny, especially because I know he's going against – this is a weird thing with the Rams is that defense still can play very well, but especially against the run, not as good as you would think. So I think I'm not seeing him having a breakout week, but I think he'll be a solid flex play.
Yeah, not a bad addition as well, especially what Pete Carroll says. That's like, when this guy deserves to get more touches in the backfield, then definitely they're going to, trend in that direction. So yeah, it's a good addition definitely for your roster this week if you need a running back. I'm going with one of my guys, Jordan Howard versus the Washington football team.
There we go. Okay. I
Yeah.
mean, what are your predictions on him has to prove right eventually.
Exactly. So they're coming off the bye week. I know Miles Sanders is healthy, but Nick Sirianni definitely said that if Jordan Howard, he is going to be a little bit questionable this whole practice week, so we'll see about his status come game time. But Nick Sirianni is optimistic that he's going to play on Sunday against the Washington football team. He's more like, the fact that he's concerned just tells me that he wants to involve in the game plan, split the carries with Miles Sanders, or at the very least, like, once they get into the red zone, just pound it up the gut with Jordan Howard, get a vulture touchdown that way. So for that reason alone, he's worth a flex play at least, or worthy of an addition. So like we talked about, the running back position gets scooped up very fast while you're playing the fantasy season. So at this point, you kind of need to grab at any straws that are available there. So one of these straws this week, I'm going with Jordan Howard.
I like it. All right, moving in receiver. I've been singing this guy's praise all season long, but I'm going to keep writing him. Russell Gage. I'm sorry, Hummer, but the 49ers secondary is terrible. Russell Gage is finally starting to hit his hot streak. If he's still available in your league, I like him a lot as a potential flex play, maybe even a low-end wide receiver 2 play.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. The Niners are dealing with injuries in that secondary. I don't know who's going to be healthy come by the weekend. So, yeah, when you get a guy like that, Russell Gage, the Falcons like to pass the ball as well. So, yeah, he's a good addition. I'm going with Jamison Crowder versus the Miami Dolphins. Okay. This is a simple addition by attrition. So, Corey Davis is on the IR. God, the other guy that I'm blanking on his name, Elijah Moore. He just went on the IR.
I wasn't going to tell you. I was like, let's see how many Jets receivers you can name.
Elijah Moore, he's on the IR as well. So by this, by default, Jamison Crowder becomes the number one option in this offense. So he's going to get force-fed the ball. I know they also have Denzel Mims, but he's still a little bit unproven. Michael Carter.
Okay.
Michael Carter's supposed to return this week too, but I don't know if they're going to risk the future with him. Maybe they'll keep him on the, keep him a little bit on the sidelines and then, worry about the future. But we'll see about that. So yeah, I like Jamison Crowder as a number one here to get majority of the targets. Jumping into the tight end position here, I'm going with the Cleveland Browns here. Austin Hooper, he scored in back-to-back games now. I expect that to happen against the Las Vegas Raiders too. Like, they were absolutely thrown to the wolves against the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, they just put it on them, both on offense and on defense. Like, I mean, yeah, so I expect Austin Hooper to at least get another touchdown, make it 3 in a row. So for that reason alone, it's worth an addition into your starting roster at tight end or possibly at a flex position. So yeah, Austin Hooper this week, good addition.
I like Tyler Higbee at tight end. Like I said before, OBJ might be out. I know we this week is going to be very interesting for the Rams because oh my God, it was like a freaking nuclear bomb went off with the Los Angeles Rams today. Of just like, this player has it, this player has it, this player has it. It's just like over the past couple days, they've just been dropping like flies. So
same thing in Cleveland too. Like Jedrick Wills has it, and Baker Mayfield I think has it, and Jarvis Landry. I think
Jarvis Landry has it.
It's a huge one in Cleveland as well. So make sure you monitor that as you're checking your rosters this week.
So I like Higbee, and even if OBJ was playing, I would still like Higbee for a score. I think he'll be good for at least 6 points because Seattle's defense against tight ends not great.
Yeah, agreed. Let's get to the defenses and kickers here. I'm going to keep with that Cleveland Browns tradition here, depending on who's healthy. But I haven't heard anything about the defense suffering from COVID or anything like that, so I think they should be okay. So I'm picking the Browns defense versus the Raiders.
Because I'm doing a massive knock on wood for you, buddy.
So we'll see what happens there. But just, based on what I saw against the Raiders and the Chiefs, I expect the Browns defense, who is a little bit better, in my opinion, than the Kansas City Chiefs defense as far as personnel and, scheme-wise. I think they'll be a little bit more, probably do very similar things that what the Kansas City Chiefs were able to do against the Raiders. I think the Browns will be able to do the same thing this week here in Week 15.
Very nice. I like the Houston Texans defense against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Wow, okay.
They're playing the Jaguars.
But you can also look at it that the Texans are playing the Jaguars, so it's like, would you want either defense in that sense? But okay.
Just look, if you're a red zone guy like me, that's going to pop up eventually on your TV set. So some vested interest will at least get you somewhat interested because, good God. Sewage. Just absolute sewage.
Right. Right. And let's close it out here with the kickers here. So I got Dustin Hopkins of the Los Angeles Chargers versus the Chiefs on Thursday night. This is going to be a very good game to watch. If the Chargers win, they will take place in the AFC West as the number 1 spot. If the Chiefs win, they'll be able to lock up a little bit more of a lead in that AFC West. So it's going to be a really good game to watch. I expect it to be very highly contested. Lots of scoring opportunities, I think, for Dustin Hopkins as far as settling for field goals possibly on some drives.
Very nice. This pick may not make a lot of sense on the surface, but I promise I'll explain it. It's Nick Folk going against the Indianapolis Colts. Now I know a lot of people are gonna go, "The hell? He's the number 1 kicker in fantasy." Like, yeah, great hot take there. But here's the thing: is if you actually look at the stats, he was dropped by 20% of the people that had rostered him the week before because he was coming off a bye week. So they dropped the kicker that's on a bye week. So he's down about 70% now, so it's a little higher than we normally go for. But I think if he is available in your league, which he might be, not in my league, suckers, because I was smart enough to hold on to him. You could get Nick Folk. So I think that's a sneaky thing to look out for. And before you guys go, well, that's a kicker. Like, who cares? Nick Folk has put up 15-plus points at least 4 times this season. So, like, he can really, especially in the playoffs, that's a real game changer. That's a sneaky good player you can pick up.
100%. So that's sort of like we stormed through our Week 15 picks there. We'll see how that all plays out.
That is the fastest we've ever done that before.
I think it has been the fastest we've ever done it. So, yeah, let's see how those picks play out during the fantasy playoffs here. Or if you have one more regular season week, like some weeks do, they only do 16 and 17 for their playoffs, then this could help you possibly get into the playoffs or help you secure a higher seed in your playoffs. So, Tad, before we move back into our flashback, like we sort of teased earlier, as far as like, you know, some good picks we made, some bad picks we made, just some overall, just like how our pick structure went over the course of these waiver wire episodes, let's show some love for one of our new sponsors.
100%. So, Murr, I want to tell you a little story. My dad texted me a couple of weeks ago as I was flying home from Thanksgiving. It was like, "Hey, when do you start work again?" And I told him, and he was just like, so I guess you won't be able to join me. So my dad is a giant Michigan fan. He went to the Big 12 championship game because he just had to watch us win that title for the first time in years, and it was glorious. But the one thing that wasn't so glorious is he was kind of upset because he was just like, "These tickets are so much." And I was like, "Well, how much are the tickets?" And he was like, "Well, it's not the tickets, it's all the extra stuff." And I could kind of relate with him because I don't go to that many sporting events because, you know, I don't make that much money. But it's the same deal as, you know, like when you go on DoorDash or something like that and you order a burger and the burger goes from $11 to $23 as soon as you click that button, right? All those extra, everyone can relate to this. All those extra charges on all these sites can get super, super annoying. But with our new sponsor, TickPick.com, they are completely honest with you. The price you see on their site is the price you're going to get. And here's the best thing is they look for the best prices. So it's not like, you know, you're going to see $100 and you go, "Well, maybe I can find an $80 ticket." No. That's the best you're going to get because TickPick will look out for the best prices. We're talking concerts, sport games, anything that you need a ticket for, any big event, they will find the best deal for you and they will have no extra fees for you. So they are one of our best sponsors so far. I absolutely love what they do because they are just, their entire purpose is just finding you the best deal.
Yeah, like Tad said, like finding you the best deal, like they're very competitive with all those other ticket resellers, you know, your Ticketmaster, your StubHub, your SeatGeek, your, I think Gator Seat is one of them. I can't remember all of them, but just like they are substantially, like, you know, on record, they're somewhere between $40 to $50 cheaper than all of those other ticket providers. So yeah, it's a really competitive pricing website for tickets. Yeah, like Tad said, the price you see is the price that you're going to pay. You don't have to worry about any additional fees. It's a really great website. And hey, if you want to take advantage and buy some tickets off TickPick, you want to go to some playoff games or some of these games that are going to decide some playoff, you know, situations for your team as the regular season sort of comes to a close here in the NFL, or basketball season sort of hitting in the stride here in the middle of the season. Hockey, if you're interested in that. I mean, I know baseball's on a strike, so you can't really do that. Right now it's winter anyways, but just like there's a lot of great sporting events. There's non-sporting events as well. And so, yeah, we have a link for you right in the bottom in the comment section. Make sure you click that and go check out something awesome this holiday season or in the future as well.
And guys, in case you're wondering, like, this sounds way too sketch, no way this is legit. If I go, my ticket doesn't work, I'm screwed. They actually have a buyer's trust guarantee. So if your ticket doesn't work and you contact them, first, it's not just like an automatic refund. That's the coolest part. So what they will try to do first is find you an equally good ticket or a better ticket. So if something goes wrong, you may actually benefit from it. And then if for whatever reason that doesn't work out, they absolutely 100% guarantee you a full refund. So do not think that this is like some, kind of sketchy site. We would not take them on as a sponsor if we didn't fully trust them. And that buyer's trust guarantee is absolutely why we trust them.
100%. I personally use TickPick. I bought tickets to the Niners-Saints game 2 years ago in 2019 in New Orleans. It's a seamless process. It was absolutely awesome. The tickets were great. It was an awesome experience. So yeah, highly recommend TickPick if you're looking to make it to a sporting event or a non-sporting event as well. So yep, that's enough love for our sponsor, I think there, Tad. Let's sort of jump into our flashback here as far as like picks that we made throughout this waiver wire episode. So me and Tad, we both went through all the picks that we have made in the waiver wire episode, or at least majority of them. Maybe we skipped a couple of them. And yeah, Tad, I kind of got a percentage for you as far as the number of picks that I made. I made 78 picks this year in our waiver wire episode. Out of those 78 picks, I got 42 of them correct.
Define correct.
So by correct, I mean that they hit their mark at the average for their position, maybe even a little bit better. So, lots of these players, they finished at least 10th or higher in their respective week for their position. On average, like if you pick this guy, it's like you're expecting to see like, for tight ends, we sort of talked about this. That's like, you're expecting to get somewhere in that 8 to 10 range. If you pick up a guy off the waiver wire, that's about average there. So I count those as wins. So yeah, if you look at the percentage, it is subjective. I know, obviously, there's probably some more granular statistical way we could have done this, but I did this a little bit more subjectively. So out of the 78 picks that I've made, I got about 53% correct. So, it was about 50-50 with all the picks that I made. It was not bad.
All right, Moneyball, whatever you say. Jesus Christ, where are you subjective? Oh, my God. I got 20 out of 73 right. All right, there we go. I just looked at them. I was like, were they good for a couple weeks? Yeah, great.
Well, you know what? I do want to say that, there were a lot of picks.
Real quick, before people go like, wow, that's really not that good, is look back on all the moves you made this season. I'm not saying you like specifically, Murr, but like you, the listener. Go back and look at every single roster move you made and see how many paid off.
It's true.
Because I can almost guarantee you. So, like, I'm not going to brag. So that's a 27% success rate. That's not that great, but that's not that bad either, really.
Yeah. That's true.
I'm not defensive. You're defensive. Shut up.
So, I also decided to break it down by position because obviously we made picks for every single position. So
Jesus Christ,
out of 12 quarterbacks that I picked this season, I got 9 of them wrong. So I was not good at picking quarterbacks this season. Wow. I was pretty bad at that. As far as running backs and receivers, I picked 12 each for both of those positions. 50-50, I got 6 correct out of those 2 positions as well. Tight ends, I was actually not that bad. I picked 15 tight ends this season. I got 9 out of them correct, which is not too bad there. Defenses, I was about the same. 14 picks that I made, I got 7 correct. And surprisingly, I was a kicker savant because I got 13 kickers as far as pick selections that I made. I got 9 of them correct. So, for some reason, I was just able to figure out which kickers were going to do good in a certain week. So, just out of all these positions, I was just like, yeah, it's like I said, reflects accordingly. Yeah, appropriate.
That was the Homer Simpson nerd thing if that didn't go through.
I 100% knew exactly what it was from. Appropriate. I like it.
Yeah, I didn't break it down by position, but I did pick a couple players, so I'll just get into my first one that I called correctly, and this is as Cap is coming in to back me up.
He wants to hear your good picks.
Look at
yeah.
That. All right, buddy. Thank you for making your guest appearance. You can get off now.
Or you can push him off, one or the other.
Yeah, no, exactly. Sometimes you just got to go with the tough love situation. So this is actually probably my best call of the season is the very first week of the season. I told you people to pick up Dawson Knox. And Look at what has happened this entire season.
Quick qualifier, first week of the season, we started in week 3, so we didn't start the very first
okay,
week.
Our first episode of the season.
Yeah,
you're
there
right.
you go.
You're right.
There you go.
Good call. Good correction. So, yeah, Dawson Knox, as it stands now, he's the 4th best tight end in fantasy football. He's only had 2 games this entire season where he's gone below 5 points. I know what you're thinking of, like, wow, just 5 points? Like, that's not that high of a qualifier. With tight ends this year, it is. Tight ends was really, really rough position this year. So, Dawson Knox, week 3, probably my best call of the season.
Yeah, that's definitely not bad at all. If he didn't get hurt, I think he would have finished possibly top 5, at least top 10, 100%. So, yeah, definitely a good pick for next year, obviously, as we see that the Buffalo Bills want to involve him more in the offense. So, real good pick there. So, I took a different approach. I kind of took it just by the week. I didn't go by multiple weeks there. So, my first pick that I sort of have here is actually the guy that played last night in the Rams versus Cardinals game, and that's Matt Prater. I said to pick him up as a kicker option. He was the best fantasy kicker in week 14, and it's like I sort of mentioned that it's going to be a back and forth type of game. There's going to be scoring opportunities for both kickers, and yeah, Matt Prater ended up being the best fantasy kicker. Like I said, for some reason, I was able to pick good kickers this year.
There you go. I mean, hey, kickers matter, man.
It's true. Especially when they give you 16 points, that makes a huge difference.
Hey, man, I went into last night. The guy I was playing had Zach Ertz and Cooper Kupp, and I had Matt Stafford and Prater. So Prater was a big reason. I won by, like 3 points or something like that. It was a very, very close game, and Prater was a big reason for that.
There you go. Who else did you get right this season?
So this one took a little bit more patience, but he's especially paying off big time now. In fact, I actually had to pick him, or I actually had to trade for him because when I gave this shout out, one of my friends picked him up off the waivers because of this shout out. So I ended up having to trade for him rather than pick him up. It's Hunter Renfro.
There you go.
Is the second I gave Hunter Renfro a shout out about 2 months ago, my friend was like, all right, I'm going for it. I'm picking him up. And if, my friend was a little bit more patient, probably would have worked out for him because Hunter Renfro in 5 of the last 6 weeks has scored at least 14 points. So unfortunately, due to the Henry Ruggs situation, his value has gone up substantially. He's seeing a ridiculous amount of targets. Like that, he's basically and with Darren Waller out, Hunter Renfro is the only person that Derek Carr is throwing to. So Hunter Renfro called it months ago. I knew he'd blow up eventually. Just took a little longer than I thought.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent pick. He's definitely getting all he can eat with Darren Waller out, and he's just been the focal point of that passing offense for sure. I'm going all the way back to week 3, and this is Sam Darnold. I suggested you picked him up in week 3 for the week 3 roster edition. He was only rostered in 5.8% of ESPN leagues at that time. He ended up finishing that week with 25.26 fantasy points, which was 5th best that week. So I mean, it's like, I know he absolutely fell off a cliff and he's not even starting for the team anymore, but for a short period, Sam Darnold was a guy, especially if you needed a guy during week 3. He was the guy for you because, like I said, he was available. Anybody could have picked him up, and he did the third. He was the 5th best fantasy quarterback that week.
Okay, interesting. So I'll just go through my next 2 very quickly. Devontae Freeman, I called him about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Told you guys, I knew that the Ravens were like, all right, this is our dude. We're going to keep going with him, and he has just been clearly their number 1 back. So if you listen to us there or listen to me there, very good call. And then Nick Folk. I called Nick Folk in week 3. I said, pick this dude up. He is absolutely killing it because, this particular reason didn't age too well, but I said because Mac Jones isn't good enough to get them in the end zone, just in the other team's territory. So I called it Nick Folk by far. If you look at the stats, it's pretty ridiculous. He is ridiculously far ahead of all the other kickers. So I called the number 1 kicker very, very early in the season.
Yeah, that's definitely not bad at all. So I only got a couple more here as well. Back in week 7, I made a suggestion to go pick up Tua Tagovailoa, who was available in 75% of ESPN leagues on the waiver wire available at that time. And you gave me a bit of a side eye. You were like, really? This guy in the Miami Dolphins offense, they were struggling at that point. You know what he ended up doing? He ended up scoring 26.54 fantasy points, finished as the 3rd best fantasy quarterback in week 7. So yeah, he's been a little bit, so far he's actually been playing pretty well these last couple of weeks. The Miami offense, they're sort of trending in the right direction. We've already talked about Jalen Waddle being a dark horse candidate for possibly Rookie of the Year. Part of that reason is because Tua Tagovailoa is playing well. So back in week 7, it was very inconsistent. Obviously, he ended up getting hurt. But yeah, if you needed a quarterback in week 7, he was one of the guys that you could have picked up, and he did really, really well for you. And then one of my guys, sort of similar to the trend that you've been doing about a guy that you should have picked up to help you later in the season as well. I suggested you pick up Pat Freiermuth back in week 9 against the Cleveland Browns.
You did. I do remember that because I was like, I don't know. I think that's a flash in the pan. Yeah, no, you got that one. That's your
so
best
he
one.
was available in pretty much all ESPN leagues. He was only rostered in 8% of ESPN leagues at that time in week 9. Not only is he playing really well the rest of the season, in that week alone against the Cleveland Browns, he finished as the best fantasy tight end, scoring 21.3 points. So, yeah, I nailed that one as well. So, yeah, those are obviously, our good picks. Let's sort of... let's get into our bad picks, because I got a few of those as well, of course. So, you want to go off with this one, or should I start it off?
So I'll tell our listeners I kind of ordered this. So I have 3. So I kind of ordered it from like, okay, yeah, no, I mean that was a bad pick, but that wasn't too bad. To like, what the hell were you doing, dude? So my first one was Max Williams. So I said like, dude, go after Max Williams, do it now. Very next week he gets hurt. I believe it was a torn ACL, and he goes down for the season.
That's part of the reason why they traded for Zach Ertz, because
damn it! Oh, that's the entire reason, because they're like, we're all in this year, and like, damn it, we need to get another big white guy in there. So it's just like, okay, so yeah, I called Max Williams just at the absolute worst timing possible. Like literally, God, I'm not even kidding. Like what, like 4 or 5 days later, he tore his ACL, is out for the season. Like that's just, damn it, I hate fantasy.
That's rough. So I got 2 for you here, so because they're kind of both related. So anytime I pick Mac Jones, I picked Mac Jones in week 5, and then I picked him again in week 11. He totally failed for me both times. So in week 5, he only scored 11.54 fantasy points during that week, and then in week 11, he only scored 10.38 fantasy points. So for some reason, even he had good matchups. He played the Texans in week 5, which I thought he would do well against. Then he played the Falcons in week 11, and for some reason, he just didn't do it against either of those teams. So he sort of failed for me there. I put a curse on him every time I picked him these 2 times this season. And then related to that, Kendrick Bourne versus Buffalo.
I almost took Kendrick Bourne as one of mine too.
Yeah, obviously Mac Jones only threw it 3 times in that game, so all receivers had a bad game. So he only ended up scoring 0.3 fantasy points in week 13, which is the 4th worst receiver performance that week. So yeah, I know it's the weather and everything like that, but yeah, I still recommended him, and yeah, it was just not good for me.
Yeah, so I'll keep moving down the scale here. So a couple weeks ago, I told you guys to pick up a certain running back because I said injuries are forcing him in a very good position. I think he can really succeed with this team. He was cut a week and a half later. I told you guys to pick up Adrian Peterson on the Titans.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, a little bit of silver lining, he's still in the NFL. He's just with Seattle now.
That's why I picked up Adrian Peterson, because I had to list him twice. So I said pick him up as a Seahawk. He didn't play the next week. So Peterson screwed me twice.
That's tough luck, buddy. That's tough luck there. I'm going with another quarterback because, like I said, I just for some reason could not pick them. For some reason, I suggested Ben Roethlisberger versus the Seattle Seahawks. Yeah, he did not have a good game.
Recommending Ben Roethlisberger against anyone is just a mistake.
This season was just not the season for him. Not a season to be recommending him at all.
It's impressive play, that well with a Walker out there though.
He ended up scoring only 10.86 fantasy points, which was the 10th worst among fantasy quarterbacks in week 6. So yeah, I totally swinged and missed on that one.
All right. Well, here's why I made this face earlier. You want to hear my worst pick of the season?
Yeah, let's hear it.
It's Sam Darnold.
Ooh, yeah. I kind of teased that one earlier, but yeah, you can sort of get
So we did it differently. So I did it kind of like, how they do over the season rather than how they do that very next week.
Right.
So I was looking at my notes when I was going through. Is Darnold on these guys' level? And these guys being Dak and Mahomes. Of course not. But he's proven to be a dependable, volume-heavy quarterback. I honestly thought Darnold would be a popular streamer, kind of like what Kirk Cousins or Derek Carr, one of those guys.
In all fairness, I was in that boat with you too. I sort of thought that him and Joe Brady's offense, it'd be very like, Joe Burrow light sort of thing, but absolutely not.
Yep. So Sam Darnold, me riding that train all the way, being like, hey, keep an eye on this guy for the rest of the season. I believe he was benched 2 weeks later. That was towards the end of September, if I'm not mistaken. So actually, hold on, I can look. That was, no, even worse. That was October 4th.
Yeah, that's not so good.
Honestly, okay, while you talk, I'm going to look up his stats. So he was playing the Eagles that week.
Yeah, so I'm going to close it out with one of my guys that I actually predicted to have a pretty good rest of the season as well, and that's Curtis Samuel of Washington Football Team. I suggested that you pick this guy up back in, look at my notes here, week 3. I asked you to go pick him up in week 3. I was like, he's going to be activated off the IR. He's going to totally kill it in this offense as a secondary weapon to Terry McLaurin. Guess how many points he has total, Tad? Total.
40.
Wow. You are way over. Not even 10. 9.8 total points this season. It was an absolute, this is like an Adam Dunn feast or famine type of swing.
Wow.
I totally missed on this one.
You got Joey Gallo on your hand. Like either he's striking out or that's a home run.
Exactly. It was absolutely, by easily the worst pick that I made this season. Because like I said, the Kendrick Bourne one, I'll chalk it up to the weather, and Mac Jones only throwing it 3 times. That's why he finished as the 4th worst fantasy receiver that week. But yeah, Curtis Samuel, I was pretty high on him. I was like, he's going to do some damage, and no, just unfortunately the injuries got to him, and just he wasn't involved in the offense when he was healthy, and just, absolute swing and a miss on that one there. So you got the stats here on Darnold?
Yes, I do. Jeez. Okay. So, week 5 against Philadelphia, he had a 56% completion rate for 177 yards, 1 touchdown with 3 interceptions for 6 points.
Oh.
The next week, he had 15 points against Minnesota. So, we're like, maybe. The next 3 weeks, he finished with 2 points against the Giants, 11 points against the Falcons, and 0.9 points against the Patriots.
0.9. That one hurts.
I literally said pick up Darnold at the beginning of his collapse.
Yeah. No, that's a big one.
I get one per episode. Fuck.
Yeah, that's a rough one.
Hey, I still made the playoffs in both my leagues, though.
There you go. So, yeah, even though these waiver wire episodes are done, it's sort of a fun flashback or, maybe a painful flashback. I don't know how you want to look at it there, Tad. But even though these waiver wire episodes are done, that doesn't mean that we're going to stop giving you advice. We've mentioned this every single episode. Just follow us at all of our various Twitter handles that are scrolling at the bottom. You got my handle at @Desai23. You got Tad's at TadDesai94. You got the show handle, the Desai Guys. Hit us up with any of your questions that you have in regards to helping your playoff fantasy roster, or like we talked about, if this is your final regular season, you need some additions. We already gave you some, but if you need some more, just hit us up. We're ready to interact with you to give you some good advice. Obviously, stardom sit-em is going to be very crucial once you're in the playoffs. So if you need some advice as far as like who you need to start the flex position, should I start this quarterback over this quarterback? What defenses are going to be good? Like I said, interact with all of our handles that we have out there. We're ready to help you out as you make your march to a fantasy title in your respective league. Even though the waiver wire episodes are done, we're definitely going to be continuing with the podcast.
100%.
We're still going to be doing DFS episodes. Obviously, Tad's still going to be giving us some great sports bets as well. So make sure you tune in for all of that stuff. Subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. Still subscribe to the YouTube channel here on LAFB Network. We're still going to be dropping some videos for DFS as mentioned. Maybe a few other videos. Who knows? Just subscribe and you'll never know what's going to happen. So, appreciate everybody that's subscribing. Appreciate everybody that's tuning into the videos, who's listening to the podcast, gave us a good rating, who's following us on Twitter, interact with us. I mean, so many things you guys are doing with the show. We appreciate every one of you. And yeah, we just can't thank you guys enough.
And guys, with the off season coming up, if you have a good topic that you want us to discuss, moving forward, hey, we need ideas as well. So be sure to don't be shy. Shoot those our way, and we will definitely discuss it. And who knows, maybe it will even land on the show. And honestly, maybe you can even come on and join us to discuss your own idea. So don't be shy. Hit us up on Twitter or, on Facebook. Instagram, LAFB Network, who is our parent company, they're there. So if you comment there, we will see it. So be sure to hit us up with your off-season topic ideas as well. So as always, guys, thank you for listening.